The sex addiction field does an amazing job with the crisis phase. The first 6 months, 8 months of this sex addiction and what it's doing to your marriage, the field does a great job. We have that piece dialed in, right? Step by step by step by step. And the couples that follow it actually have a high likelihood of staying together. The last research that I saw said 84% chance of staying married. We have that phase pretty well figured out. However, after 8 months, that's when things start to fall apart. And for those of you listening who are 8 months plus post-discovery, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That's where things get murky, right? It was really black and white until we get into that second phase. And that's where things start to become really gray. They become gray, they become murky. What works for one guy will not work for another guy. What works for one couple will not work for another couple. And so I'm sharing this with you because I find very, very often in the sex addiction field that men and women get a little stuck in the crisis phase. And what I mean by that is, I mean that their treatment strategies are not being updated as they are progressing. So for example, the guys, right? So much of this is based off of abstinence and sobriety, right? That's kind of the first, 2, 3, 4 months of recovery is, hey, do I know how to not do these behaviors? Can I implement tools into my life so that I can stop this stuff from happening, ruining my life? But eventually, we got to get into recovery. Sobriety's great and all, but it's not going to help you go the distance. Eventually, it gets old. We take our foot off the gas a little bit, and guys inevitably slip or relapse. So don't do that. I think guys are slipping and relapsing because I think they keep leaning on too many of the treatment strategies in the crisis phase, that abstinence and sobriety based practices. Once you have that figured out, you've got to move on to recovery. You need to figure out what are these brain processes that I have become compulsive around or addicted to, and how do I change those, right? And that's a very, very different plan than sobriety and abstinence, right? So if you guys are finding that the 12-step model is not working, maybe some of those initial treatments are just not having the same effect, and you're finding yourself having urges, or maybe you're slipping or edging or even relapsing, that's probably why. We've got to graduate from those. And the same goes for couples. We have this really well dialed in, the sex addiction field does, in the beginning. But after those first 8 months, things need to change, right? A lot of the first 8 months in that crisis phase is about getting you and your wife to a point where you can breathe. You guys are creating a healthy container for the two of you to thrive. We're setting the couple up for long-term success. But you can't keep staying in the setup phase. Eventually, the work does need to be done by both parties, right? And so what I'm saying is the treatment strategies, the treatment plan in place needs to be updated as the couple is moving along towards the healthy side of things, right? So as they're progressing, the treatment methods and the tools you guys are using as a couple need to be updated. And this goes for men and couples. As we start moving away from the addicted or betrayal trauma side of things, it's going to start looking a lot less sex addiction specific. And it's going to start just kind of migrating more towards traditional, proven, sound psychology, right? Because in the end, we're both just humans. I mean, that's really what this is about. Recovery is a very human process, and relational recovery is a human process between two humans. And so we need to constantly be assessing our treatment plan and saying, hey, are we really doing what we need right now? Am I really doing the work that's going to help me recover long-term, get these urges and behaviors out of my life for good? Are we really doing what we need to do as a couple right now to honor the coupleship? Now, one thing I want everybody to listen to is I am not in any way telling people to hurry up or accelerate the recovery process. I'm not saying that. Your wife's healing is going to take the time it takes. There's nothing you can do to hurry her along. She's going to do the work, and it's going to take the time that it takes. And guys, same thing for you. Recovery, there's things we can do to slow it down, and there's things we can do to speed it up, sure, just like in the coupleship. But at the same time, this isn't a race, right? It's about doing the work that needs to be done, and that's going to be different from person to person to person. One of the things that I was the most shocked about when I got into recovery was I'm used to being this high achiever. Typically, most rooms I come into, I'm usually somewhere towards the top in these rooms. Well, when I got into recovery, it was the opposite. I mean, I was more screwed up than most of the guys in there. And so my recovery was long. It was drawn out. There were so many things that I was going to need to do. And so obviously that's going to take more time. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands speed is not what I'm saying here. I'm not talking about speed. I'm not talking about speeding this up. What I'm saying is not slowing yourself down unnecessarily or relying on a treatment treatment plan, which I see this all the time. That's the reason I'm recording this episode. I see so many guys relying on a treatment plan that is not going to go the distance. It's not. They are going to slip. They are going to relapse. I've been in this now and I've seen it happen over and over again. I'll see a guy and I'm like, no, he's not in recovery. He's doing sobriety and abstinence, but he's not in recovery. And without fail, the guy will slip, relapse. And the same goes for the coupleship, right? Are you guys actually repairing? Is there some rebuilding of some trust that's going on? Or are you guys just kind of in the washing machine talking about how you're going to one day recover, right? Which is kind of what we do in the crisis phase. Now, again, I'm bringing this up. All of those things in that initial phase are important. I'm not asking you to speed them up. I'm not asking you to shortcut them, cut them out. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is if they're working and you guys are inching your way towards healthy recovery or as a couple, a healthy marriage, just make sure that your treatment strategies and your treatment team and all the things you guys are doing as a couple are moving along so that you're not staying stuck and relying on treatment strategies that are just simply not going to help the phase that you two guys are in. So I say all this just to be mindful, right? Well, the sex addiction field, because so many people need help in the crisis phase, a lot of the help that's out there, a lot of the information that's out there does speak to the crisis phase. But again, that does not mean that that's what needs to be focused on. The sex addiction field as a whole, there's just a lot of content in that area because there is just such a need for it. Couples are so scared during that time. But again, I think the challenge is because there's such an emphasis on the practices that are done really early on, I find people get kind of stuck in those and they're not as exposed to, hey, what are the more advanced strategies that we use in relational recovery? What are those? What are the couples doing who are actually coming out of this and then starting to thrive, right? If they're starting to trust their husbands, how are they trusting their husbands and what are they doing to trust their husband more, right? What's the husband doing, right? It's a lot of these things that couples and guys in advanced recovery need to figure out. Like, whoa, that guy's not relapsing. How did he get there? He's not slipping. He has no urges and cravings. Like, what's that guy do, right? So it's a lot of those processes that are just not as commonly discussed in the sex addiction field because by that time it starts to not look a lot like sex addiction. That's why once you start migrating towards healthy, the relational recovery starts to look more like typical relational recovery, right? And the same goes for guys in their recovery work. In the beginning, it's very focused on the sexual behaviors, and then it starts to kind of get more towards traditional psychology. So again, be careful. Don't get stuck. You're not a sex addict. You're not a betrayed partner. You're not a betrayed, broken marriage. Yes, those things happen to you, but that's not your identity. We have to learn how to manage that. And then eventually we go back to being humans and then doing human stuff. So again, honor the work, put in the work, do your research. But keep in mind, eventually you are going to have to transition out of sex addiction specific work and into just sound proven psychology for you guys to actually go the distance and recover from this thing. We need to graduate. So go to your therapists, go to whoever your support teams is, your support groups, and bring this up. Just ask, hey, what is the plan? What is the plan to go from here to here? How's that look? And have them explain it to you so you guys can make sure that you're actually doing the things necessary to get to where you want to go. Because frankly, when I look around, I see a lot of people hanging out just relying on abstinence and sobriety-based practices, hoping that this is going to build some sort of long-term solution. And the truth is, it just doesn't. Eventually, we do got to get back to doing the sound human work like all of you guys. You're humans. You're not sex addicts. You're humans. You're not betrayed relationships, right? We are people. We're still people. And so remember, what sound psychology says about people and about relationships still apply to couples affected by sexual betrayal and sexual infidelity.